Hello students, welcome back to your online class. So far we have covered 16 chapters. So like in today's class we are going to start a new chapter, that is lecture number 17. So students, here the chapter name is Law of Returns. Okay. So this is a very small topic where you will be having some 6 to 7 slides. So like if we study those 7 slides means that will complete this chapter. So we'll see like what all the points which we are going to discuss in this chapter. So first we'll study what is the meaning of law of returns. So then we will see the different types of law of returns. So like in general there are three types of law of returns. They are increasing law of return, decreasing law of returns, and constant law of returns. Okay, so like we will study these all things by taking one example. Fine. So first let's see like what is this term law of return means exactly. So what is the meaning of law of returns? So first let me give an example. So students, let's imagine that this is a field. Okay, so in this field you are cultivating one crop. For example, you are cultivating rice. So rice, like one situation will come like you have to apply certain fertilizer for this rice crop. So like you'll go to a shop, fertilizer shop, and you'll ask for that seller like give some fertilizers to apply for rice so that the yield should be more, that is the output should be more. So at that time he will tell about some 5 to 6 fertilizers. Okay, so he will tell like these all fertilizers are good, so you can take any one from this. Okay, so like different brands will be there. So at that time you will get confused like what kind of fertilizer you have to take. So for that the scientist, what they will do is, so they will take all these fertilizers and they will do some research on the plot. Okay, so like by conducting a research they will find which is the best fertilizer. So to conduct that research, this law of return topic will help. So students, like in your third year and fourth year under agronomy subject, you will be having such practicals. Like they will allot some piece of land to you and they will tell you to sow some seeds, and they will tell to cultivate some crops. So for that crop, like starting from the sowing till harvesting, like complete responsibility will be on you people only. So at that time you have to apply some fertilizers also, and you have to study like which fertilizer is giving more yield. So at that time this law will help. So we'll see like how exactly it will help in selecting the best fertilizer. So law of return means during production, when one input is varied and all other inputs are kept constant, the relationship that occurs between that one single variable input and output is called law of returns. So here you are keeping like you'll be changing only one output, sorry, only one input. You'll be changing one input. So which input you are changing? Fertilizer. Because in first trial you'll use one fertilizer, in second trial you'll use the second fertilizer, but during this time other inputs will be constant, like the insecticide what you are using, like the seeds what you are using, or the technology what you are using. So those all things should be constant. So only this fertilizer should be changing. Okay, so like with all these constant inputs, for all these constant inputs, which fertilizer will be which fertilizer will be best suitable, so that we have to find. So that is the main motto of this theory. So that's why during production, when one input is varied, when one input is varied and all other inputs are kept constant, then the relationship, or then like what changes that occurs in the output is called as law of returns. So we'll study by studying about the different types of law of returns. Okay, so students, like in general there are three types of law of returns. They are law of increasing returns, law of constant returns, and law of decreasing returns. So here law of increasing return means, so like if you change that variable input means your output will also change. Law of constant means if you change that variable input means your output will remain constant only, it will not change. And law of decreasing return means if you change that input, or like if you are increasing the amount of that fertilizer, your output will decrease. Okay, so that is called as law of decreasing returns. So that's what about your 17th chapter. Like if you are able to define these three concepts means this chapter will be finished. So these are the only three things that are coming under this topic. So we'll study what are the definitions. So first one is law of increasing returns. So just now I told you that each successive unit of the variable input added to the fixed inputs gives more and more total output. Okay, so here the MPP keeps increasing with additional unit of input. So here students, like first, this is the first fertilizer what you have used, and for that you have got some 3 units of output. Okay, so here all kinds of inputs are constant, like other than fertilizer, what all the other raw material or resources you are using, so that should be constant, like same in all the trials. So here, like, you are changing the units of fertilizers, quantity, dose of fertilizers. Okay, so like after increasing this variable input, or after increasing the quantity of this fertilizer, the output what you are observing is in an increasing mode. Okay, so like when you are increasing the amount of fertilizer, your output is increasing. Okay, so that's what your law of increasing return means. So like here you can define in terms of marginal physical product also. If the marginal physical product is increasing, means it will be law of increasing returns, means that fertilizer is best for your field. Okay, so what is marginal product? Like when your output is increasing by addition of one more unit of input. Okay, so that is your marginal product. So like after addition of one more unit of input, your marginal product is increasing. So like this is the best case, this is the best law for a farmer. Okay, so like if this kind of result you are getting in your field, means that fertilizer you have to use. So like in the, like, mathematically you can express this as change in y2 divided by change in x2 is greater than change in y1 divided by change in x1. See, here change in y2 is, that is change in y2 divided by change in x2 is nothing but your marginal productivity with respect to second factor, that is this one, 7. Okay, so this is with respect to second unit. So change in y1 divided by change in x1 is nothing but your marginal product with respect to first unit. So that is with respect to first unit. So here 7 is greater than 5. So that's why delta y2 divided by delta x2 is greater than delta y1 divided by delta x1. Okay, so that is the main meaning. So if this case is there, means it will be law of increasing returns. So like what kind of questions you may get in your exam means, in MCQ they can give this mathematical expression, then in options they will give as law of increasing returns, law of decreasing returns, and law of constant returns. So you have to check this symbol. If it is greater, means it will be law of increasing returns. And they can ask about the definition also. So definition is nothing but after increasing the amount of variable inputs, your output will increase. So that is the definition. Okay, so if you want to put this table, means you can put. So like it's not compulsory that you have to keep this table. So it, like, you have to decide based on the marks that is allotted for that question. Okay, if it is for 2 marks, means no need. So but you have to put the graph. So we'll see what is the shape of this graph. So students, for law of increasing returns, the shape will be like a increasing curve. Okay, that is after addition of input, your output will be increasing. So here see, your input is also increasing and your output is also increasing. So that's why the shape of this curve is like this, that is positive upward sloping curve. So that is about your law of increasing returns. So what is law of decreasing returns? So same as that of your first case, that is here after addition of each successive unit of variable input to the fixed inputs adds less and less to the total output. So students, here if you increase the quantity of variable input, means that is if you increase the quantity of fertilizer, means your output will decrease, or the marginal output, means extra output, will decrease. Okay, so like more than this total output, you have to check this marginal output, means after adding extra input, like what changes you are getting. So if that is decreasing, means that fertilizer is not good, you should not recommend that to your farmer or to the family members. Okay, so that is the main useful, that is after increasing the input, your output is decreasing, that means law of decreasing returns. So like in in the heading only you can get, if it is decreasing, means your output is decreasing, that is marginal product is decreasing. So what is the mathematical expression for this? So it is change in y2 divided by change in x2, means this one 8 is less than change in y1 divided by change in x1, that is 12. 8 is less than 12. So here 2 is there, here 1 is there. 2 means second one we have to consider. 1 means first one we have to consider. If second one is less than the first one, then it will be law of decreasing returns. If both are equal means it will be constant returns. So that is your third law. Okay, fine. So we'll study that also. So like before that we'll see the graph of this law. That is, here it will be convex shape. So students, here also you can think like input is increasing, the output is also increasing, but the MP is decreasing here. MP means like the difference between these two things is decreasing. See here, the difference between 27 and 15 is 12. The difference between 35 and 27 is 8. Okay, so again the difference between 41 and 35 is 6. So from 12 it is becoming 8, from 8 it is becoming 6. So in previous case, that is in law of returns, this difference was increasing from one unit to other unit. So that's why it is taking a concave shape, and that was taking a convex shape. Okay, increasing return is convex, decreasing returns is concave. Fine. So that's all about your second law, and this is the last law. So like if you study this law means we'll end this chapter. See here, each successive addition of variable input to fixed inputs will give the same additional output, that is same marginal physical product or same marginal product. Okay, see students, here like they are changing input in the same quantity and they are getting output also in the same quantity, means there is no difference. Okay, see 5 minus 5 is 0, so again next 5 minus 5 is 0. So here marginal product is same, so that is change in delta 1, change in y1 divided by change in x1 is equal to change in y2 divided by change in x2. So when like after changing or after increasing the amount of input, if you are getting same output means, so that will be your constant returns. So like if you use such kind of fertilizer means there will be no change in your revenue. So like suppose if you are getting 1 lakh profit means next year also you'll get 1 lakh profit if you use the same amount of fertilizer. But the fertilizer which you have used in the law of increasing return, so if you use such kind of fertilizer means you will get more revenue or more profit for your field. So like that's how this law will help practically. So what is the shape of this graph? So it's a straight line, straight positive line. Okay, like same amount increase in inputs and same amount increase in the output. Okay, so here like same increase in input and same increase in output. So here the main thing which you have to check is this difference. Okay, so the difference between 10 and 5 is 5, the difference between 15 and 10 is 5, the difference between 20 and 15 is 5. Okay, like same amount you are getting, so that's why it's a constant law of constant returns to scale. So what is the definition? Means each successive addition of variable input to fixed inputs will give the same additional output. Okay, so students, graph how you have to draw means, for graph you have to take these points. Okay, for definition you have to consider this point. Okay, in definition you can just write as, if you increase the input, if the marginal physical product is constant means it is law of constant returns. Okay, so for that if you want to put graph means you have to take this data. Okay, this one and this one, because if it is your initial input and it is your final output. So that's all about your like next topic, that is lecture number 17. So like in the next class we'll study or we'll start a new chapter, that is lecture number 18. Okay, thank you.